Welcome to an emotional and mysterious journey that explores love, loss, and the unbreakable bonds of family. Ben, a devoted widower, is doing his best to raise his young son, Lucas, while keeping the memory of his late wife, Irene, alive. Lucas is a curious and sensitive boy whose startling claim that his real mom still lives in the house sets the stage for an unforgettable story. Ben's new wife, who steps into their world with love and hope, finds herself navigating Irene's lingering presence in unexpected ways. This is a tale of resilience and connection where the past intertwines with the present, leading to powerful revelations and heartfelt resolutions. Don't miss this moving story. If it touches your heart, be sure to share it with your loved ones to spread its message of love and acceptance. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more captivating stories like this. Your support means the world. In a quiet home filled with bittersweet memories, Ben, a devoted widower, struggles to raise his young son, Lucas, after the loss of his wife, Irene. When Ben remarries, his new wife steps into a life overshadowed by Irene's presence, a presence that seems more tangible than she could have imagined. Lucas's startling revelation, "My real mom still lives in this house," sends shivers through the seemingly ordinary family life. Is it the echo of a child's grief, or does Irene's love linger in ways no one can explain? As unease turns to revelation, the story unfurls a delicate tapestry of love, loss, and the resilience needed to embrace a new beginning. Beneath the golden glow of a quiet morning sun, a man stood in the kitchen, lost in thought. His name was Ben, a widower still bearing the weight of an unspeakable tragedy. Just 3 years ago, his life shattered when his beloved wife, Irene, was taken from him far too soon. Now every day begins the same way. The soft hum of the coffee maker, the faint sound of Lucas, his 6-year-old son, shuffling through the hallway. Yet there's a heaviness in their home, a presence that lingers in the quiet moments, in the flicker of a picture frame, in the scent of Irene's favorite flowers, still placed fresh on the dining table each week. Ben's devotion to Irene's memory is unwavering. He refuses to remove her photographs from the walls or her belongings from the closet. To him, it feels like letting go would be betraying her. But it's not just about Irene. Ben knows he has to hold it all together for Lucas. Lucas is a bright, spirited boy with his mother's curious green eyes, but even he carries a shadow, a longing for something unspoken. "Daddy," Lucas whispered one morning, staring at the chair his mother used to sit in, "do you think Mommy is still watching us?" Ben froze, the words cutting through him like a blade. His voice cracked as he replied, "I think she's always with us, buddy." What Ben didn't know was that his son wasn't asking out of curiosity. He was asking because, in the stillness of the night, Lucas had seen something. Something he could never forget. When she married Ben, she knew she was stepping into a life already shaped by loss. Irene's shadow lingered in every corner of their home, a house that seemed to breathe with memories, heavy with whispers of the past. From the pictures of Irene smiling brightly on the walls to the scent of lavender, her favorite, that somehow still lingered in the master bedroom, she felt as though she was intruding on a sacred space. But love can be stubbornly optimistic, and she believed she could carve out her own place in their lives, even amidst these ghostly echoes. Her greatest challenge was not the house, but Lucas, a bright-eyed, inquisitive boy who adored his father and clung to memories of his mother. Every interaction with him was delicate, as though she were walking a tightrope. She read him bedtime stories, made his favorite meals, and cheered him on at soccer games. Yet there were moments when his distant gaze, or an innocent question about Irene, pierced through her fragile confidence. One evening, as she helped Lucas with his homework, he looked up and said something that sent a chill down her spine. "You don't have to try so hard. My real mum still lives here." She froze, her heart pounding. Was it a child's imagination, or something else? Little did she know this was only the beginning of an unraveling mystery that would challenge everything she thought she knew. The house was quiet, save for the soft hum of the old heater in the corner. It was one of those nights where the air felt heavy, as if it were holding a secret. Upstairs, Lucas was tucked into bed, his favorite stuffed bear nestled under his arm. Still adjusting to her new role as stepmother, sat on the edge of his bed, reading softly from a storybook. And they all lived happily ever after. "Now, time for bed, Lucas." Lucas, innocently, but with a tinge of curiosity. "Will you stay with me a little longer?" She smiled and nodded, smoothing his hair. "Of course," she said. But as the moment stretched on, she felt Lucas watching her, his wide eyes flickering with something she couldn't quite place. Lucas, whispering, almost conspiratorial, "You know, my real mum still lives in this house." Her heart stopped. The words hung in the air like a cold draft, seeping into her skin. She tried to mask her shock with a chuckle. "Oh, Lucas, that's not possible. Your mommy is—" Her voice faltered. Lucas leaned closer, his voice dropping to a whisper, almost as if he were afraid someone else might hear. "She never left. Sometimes I hear her at night. She talks to me." A shiver ran down her spine. The room felt colder, darker. Was Lucas just a child clinging to memories, or was there something more? Her gaze flicked to the corner of the room where shadows danced on the wall. Suddenly every creak of the house felt louder, every shadow heavier. Could it be true? Or is this just the imagination of a child who misses his mother too much? As she left Lucas's room that night, the unease clung to her like a second skin. She told herself it was nothing. But deep down, she couldn't shake the feeling that Lucas's words were more than just the musings of a grieving boy. The house had always seemed ordinary, bright, warm, and full of memories. But after Lucas's chilling statement, "My real mom still lives here," the walls seemed to whisper secrets she couldn't ignore. At first, she brushed off the boy's words as the innocent ramblings of a child missing his mother. Yet each passing day brought new, unsettling moments. It started small, a faint creak of the floorboards when no one was walking, the sudden scent of lavender, Irene's favorite perfume, drifting through the air, and picture frames slightly tilted as if touched by unseen hands. Her nights became sleepless, her imagination running wild with possibilities. Was this the result of her insecurities, or was there something truly haunting this home? Lucas's behavior added to the tension. He began speaking to someone in hushed tones when he thought no one was watching. "Good night, Mommy," she overheard one evening, sending chills racing down her spine. When she confronted Ben, he dismissed it. "He's just a child grieving in his own way, don't overthink it." But she couldn't shake the feeling that there was more to Lucas's words than grief. Alone in the dimly lit living room one evening, she felt it, a presence. The air grew heavy and the shadows seemed to shift. A soft, almost imperceptible voice whispered her name, or so she thought. Heart pounding, she spun around, only to find Lucas standing silently at the doorway, his wide eyes brimming with tears. "Mum says you don't believe me," he murmured. Who was he talking to? The house was no longer just a home. It was a place of unanswered questions, where past and present blurred, and every creak of the floorboards hinted at something, or someone, waiting in the shadows. The air in the dimly lit living room was heavy with unspoken words. She sat on the edge of the couch, her fingers tracing the delicate embroidery of a pillow, her mind a storm of doubt. Across from her, Ben stood near the fireplace, his arms crossed and his expression a mix of confusion and quiet frustration. "Ben," she began, her voice trembling, "I need to talk to you about Lucas." And what he said. He sighed deeply, the kind of sigh that carried both weariness and exasperation. "What are you getting at exactly?" She hesitated, the words catching in her throat. "He told me his real mum still lives here. Ben, he said it so clearly, and I don't know how to make sense of it. It's like she's still here, watching us." Ben's face darkened. He's a child, processing things the only way he knows how. Irene was his mother. Of course, her memory feels alive to him. Why are you letting this get to you? She stood abruptly, her voice rising. "Because it's not just Lucas. I feel it too, Ben. The whispers, the cold drafts in the hallway, the way her presence seems to linger in every corner of this house. And every time I try to find my place here, it's like I'm competing with her ghost." Ben stared at her, his jaw tightening. "You knew what you were stepping into when you married me," he said quietly, the words cutting like a blade. "I told you this house holds memories, not ghosts. You're making it something it's not." Her heart pounded as the tension between them thickened. Shadows from the fireplace flickered ominously on the walls, casting eerie shapes that seemed to stretch and loom. She wanted to scream, to demand he see what she saw, feel what she felt. But instead she whispered, "Ben, what if there's something here we haven't faced? Something Irene left behind that won't let us move on." For a moment, silence filled the room. Then a distant sound broke it, a faint creak from upstairs like footsteps. Both of them froze, their eyes darting to the ceiling. "Did you hear that?" she asked, her voice barely audible. Ben didn't answer, but his expression had changed. For the first time she saw uncertainty flicker in his eyes. She sat quietly on the edge of Lucas's bed, her fingers tracing the stitching of the quilt as the rain tapped softly against the window. The dim glow of the bedside lamp cast long shadows across the room, making every corner seem alive. Lucas clutched his favorite stuffed animal, his wide eyes darting between her and the ceiling, where shadows seemed to swirl. "Lucas," she said softly, her voice trembling as she searched for the right words. "You can tell me anything. You know that, right?" Lucas hesitated, pulling the quilt up to his chin. "It's not just me, you know," he whispered, barely audible. She leaned closer, her heart pounding. "What do you mean?" "She's here," he said, his voice quivering. "She's always been here. Mum, my real mum, she never left." The air seemed to grow colder. She swallowed hard, trying to steady her nerves. "Why do you say that, Lucas? Is it something you've seen, felt?" Lucas nodded, tears welling in his eyes. "When I'm scared, I hear her singing, the way she used to when I was little. And sometimes I feel her touch my hair when I cry at night. She's watching, isn't she? She doesn't want me to forget her." The room seemed to close in, the silence pressing against her ears. She reached for Lucas's hand, her own trembling. "Lucas, what if she's not here to scare us? What if she's here to remind us of her love?" Lucas looked at her, his small face caught between fear and hope. "Do you really think so?" She smiled faintly, even as her heart raced. "I believe love like hers never really goes away." The lamp flickered. She froze, gripping Lucas's hand tighter. Was it the storm outside or something else? One evening, as she tidied up the attic, a space brimming with forgotten memories, her eyes caught the corner of a weathered box poking out from under a dusty quilt. Something about it seemed out of place, almost as if it had been waiting for her. Her heart raced as she pulled it out, the box heavier than she expected. Inside, she found an envelope, its edges yellowed with time, marked with the name, "To the woman who follows me." Her breath hitched. The handwriting was delicate, yet deliberate, undeniably Irene's. With trembling hands, she peeled the envelope open, revealing a letter. The attic grew quieter as she began to read, the words pulling her into Irene's world. "I knew someday Ben would need someone strong to stand beside him, to love him and Lucas the way I couldn't anymore," the letter began. Irene's words carried a mix of sorrow and warmth, acknowledging her departure while expressing gratitude for the love she trusted someone else to bring. But the letter wasn't just about gratitude. It spoke of Lucas's struggles, the way he clung to her memory because he feared forgetting her, and offered insights on how to help him heal. Then came a line that sent a chill down her spine. "If you're reading this, you found the key." She glanced back into the box and discovered a small, ornate key wrapped in a faded ribbon. A shiver ran through her as she realized it wasn't over yet. What door would this key unlock, and what secret still lingered in this house? The night was still, the only sound coming from the faint creak of the floorboards as she walked down the dimly lit hallway. In her hand, she held a letter, yellowed and fragile with time, that Irene had left behind. Her heart raced as she clutched the key to the mystery that had haunted her since Lucas's chilling revelation. "My real mom still lives here." She stepped into the living room where Ben and Lucas sat, their faces illuminated by the soft glow of the fireplace. She could feel the weight of their unspoken fears and unhealed wounds hanging in the air. Taking a deep breath, she placed the letter on the table between them. "This," she began, her voice trembling, "is Irene's final gift to all of us." The room fell silent as Ben opened the letter with shaking hands. The words inside were both tender and haunting, a message from a mother and wife who had anticipated this very moment. Irene spoke of her love for Lucas and Ben, her hopes for their future, and her plea for them to find happiness with the woman who would one day join their family. Lucas's wide eyes glistened with tears. "She wanted me to love you," he whispered to her. A sudden chill swept through the room, and for a fleeting moment she felt a presence, warm and comforting, as if Irene herself had given her blessing. In that moment, past and present intertwined. The family embraced, their shared grief transformed into a bond stronger than any ghostly shadow. As they held one another, they realized they weren't moving on alone. They were moving forward together. As the morning sun cast golden rays across the quiet house, she sat by the window sipping her tea. The warmth of the moment seemed to wash away the cold unease that had clung to her since Lucas's chilling words about his real mom. The house, once a maze of shadows and unspoken memories, now felt lighter. But this morning wasn't ordinary. It carried a sense of closure and renewal. The previous night's discovery replayed in her mind. Irene's letter, carefully tucked away in a secret drawer within the old oak cabinet. Its words lingered with her, vivid and poignant, as though Irene herself had whispered them into the room. The letter spoke of Irene's love for Lucas and Ben, her hope for their future, and a plea for whoever stepped into her shoes to cherish them. It wasn't just a goodbye, it was a bridge connecting two women who would never meet, but whose lives were intertwined by love. As Lucas burst into the room, giggling and holding a crumpled drawing of the three of them together, her heart swelled. The boy who once whispered about his real mom now beamed with a new kind of joy, as if Irene's unseen hand had guided them all to this place of understanding. She realized she wasn't replacing Irene. She was continuing her legacy, forging a bond that blended past and present. "Let's go," Lucas said, pulling her hand. "Dad's waiting for breakfast." And as they joined Ben, she felt something shift, a peace that wrapped around her like Irene's invisible embrace. The family hasn't fractured anymore. They were whole. As we've come to the end of this heartfelt journey of love, resilience, and acceptance, we'd love to hear from you. What lesson did you take away from this story? Was it the importance of compassion in building blended families? Or perhaps how love and understanding can transform even the most challenging situations into beautiful opportunities for growth? If you were in her shoes, how would you navigate such a situation? Would you embrace the challenge of being a step-parent, or would the weight of memories make it difficult? Let us know in the comments. We're excited to read your thoughts. If this story moved you, don't keep it to yourself. Share it with your family and friends. You never know who might need to hear this message of hope and healing today. Countless more stories are waiting to inspire you. Hit the subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss an update. Together, we can explore tales that touch hearts and spark meaningful conversations.